Hi, this is the Be Well with Michelle Greenwell podcast. Our heartwarming conversation is designed to lift you on your wellness journey. Grab your cup of tea and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Be Well with Dr. Michelle Greenwell, and today's conversation explores a moment many of us experience when we've tried everything. We've followed every test. We've had medical suggestions. We've had different at-home remedies that have been offered to us, and still somehow we're not getting better. For many people, the question then becomes a turning point for them. It's the moment when they start to look at, is this something else I need to look at beyond this physical aspect that I'm trying to solve? And if that's the case, then what else can I look at? And we've got mind, we've got emotions, and we've got spirit. And it's often when people feel this hopelessness that they turn to alternative tools like energy medicine, muscle monitoring, biofeedback, and the wisdom of Chinese medicine's 5-element theory. Their proof often lies in the person's experience of sensing the difference, feeling the pain relief, adjusting their posture, and achieving mental clarity. And often these tools have their history in ancient teachings and cannot be explained through a biochemical approach found in modern medicine. Instead, the approach might be through something that comes with innate healing that can be described or, in the scientific perspective, looked at through physics, biophysics, or quantum science. Many still worry that these approaches are a woo-woo approach, but when you explore the science of resonance, coherence, and vibration, you begin to see that it isn't mystical, it's measurable. And most importantly, for the person with a challenge that they haven't been able to solve, it's transformative. To open today's conversation, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in two amazing wellness people. We've got Kate Montgomery and we've got Denise Cambiotti. And we're starting a trilogy conversation around the ideas of wellness and what it means to be there when we're looking at bioenergetic wellness. So I'm going to start with Kate and give you a little background of what she's up to, because Kate is an author, a holistic health practitioner. She's a certified sports massage therapist and a naturopathic doctor. Always wanting to know more, always wanting to see something from a different perspective. With a prior 14-year career as a respiratory therapist, she's brought science and compassion together in pioneering an idea called Sports Touch, which she launched in San Diego. And this is a practice that has helped many athletes enhance performance, have stamina and recovery using kinesiology, acupressure, and breath work. Her book, Sports Touch, The Athletics Ritual, became a cornerstone for athletes, and her groundbreaking work, End Your Carpal Tunnel Pain Without Surgery, has helped thousands around the world. From musicians to surgeons, they're regaining mobility and function through natural, non-surgical means. And Kate, I just have to say to you, I have that book on the bookshelf. And I realized that last night because I was like, it sounds so familiar. And I was like, yes. And I think I've read it many times through pulling out different nuggets. So today, Kate continues to advance the field of energy and frequency healing for humans and for animals alike. And she's reminding us that the language of healing is a universal one. So Kate, welcome. And thank you so much for being here for these conversations.
Thank you for having me.
Denise Cambiotti is a colleague that I've known for a very long time, and we've weaved in and out of each other's lives with many different aspects of the work that we do. Denise is the founder of Muscle Tuners International, and this is a visionary company that's dedicated to helping people unlock the body's communication system through muscle monitoring and bioenergetic wellness techniques. She's a pioneer in multi-layer applications of muscle biofeedback. Now, I know that sounds interesting because when we talk about the body, that's one level, but there's so many more. So those layers are important. And Denise empowers facilitators and clients alike to identify and correct energy imbalances that can affect performance, pain, well-being. With a background that integrates science, acupressure, education. She's trained hundreds of facilitators globally, and she's equipped them with practical tools to restore balance and flow. Denise's mission is to bring credibility, clarity, and confidence to energy-based practices, blending rigorous technique with heart-centered care. Recently awarded an honor causa doctorate at Akamai University, Denise has decades of experience in complementary and integrative health, along with the bioenergetic wellness background that brings that package together. She's also won several awards for her programs and publications. Denise, thank you for joining us and being a part of this conversation as well.
It's a joy to be here with you, Michelle. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, to get started, for those people who may not have listened to the podcast before, we always start with a cup of tea. And I ask you if you've got some goal or some idea in mind that this conversation might bring you an answer for, bring that to mind. And you may have some water there. Take time to make yourself a cup of tea. And while you're doing that, we're going to see what these two have brought to the table for their cup of tea today. Pete, what did you bring?
Well, I brought, and I'm going to show you the bag. This is butterfly pea flower.
Mm-hmm.
And I started drinking it years ago because it helps with eyesight. It was one that it showed pilots and aviators and people drinking it to help eye, along with other ones. But it also helped with brain function and cognitive function, stress reduction, and anti-inflammatory. So it is a beautiful blue, which is very relaxing. And I don't think I can show you, but it's dark blue, and this is my nice ocean cup, and it's wonderful tasting. I do it every morning because it starts my day off. So very nice tea.
Beautiful. I drink mine in a wine glass because then I can see that blue color poke through.
I don't have wine glasses, unfortunately, but I don't have those.
Yeah. Beautiful. Awesome. All right. And Denise, what did you put in your cup?
Oh, well, I'm very happy to say my absolute favorite tea is one of yours, a Highland Splendor. And I was leery about the Earl Grey being a black type of tea because I've always reacted to black tea, like store-bought black tea in the past. And I get way too revved up on caffeine, and it has effects on my body. But you urged me to give this a try, and I have to say I'm absolutely delighted. It does perk up the brain in a way that's just a little bit different than the green tea that I like. And I can't do a lot of green tea neither. My body's just set up that way.
Mm-hmm.
But all the components, which include, fruity kind of things and healthy kind of things. I just won't go through the list because you've got such a beautiful blend. Tastes delicious. And I'm enjoying it in a mug I found in Whitehorse, Yukon Territory. And so for Americans who might not know where the Yukon Territory is, and notice the Yukon Territory, nobody knows why, it's level with Alaska. So I was there once visiting friends after having taught classes in a goat shed just outside of town. So cheers.
I love it. And will you share the affirmation that's on the Highland Splendor tea?
Oh, I have to just to take a moment to enjoy my very first sip of the morning. Great. So the affirmation that you include on your bags, they're so lovely. From the top of the mountain, we are inspired.
I just wanted to bring that forward because when you think about the blue pea flower, and there's many connections for it, but you've got that luscious blue, and you were talking about the ocean, and that would be down at the bottom, and then you're up at the top of the mountain. And what are the perspectives? So as people are listening to our conversation today and dive into this trilogy of exploration that we're going to do, this is an opportunity to think about where have you been looking at it from one perspective, and how can you move to somewhere else or open the mind to just change that perspective. And if you change your perspective, what will you discover? And then where will you be? And so I'm just going to invite people to just open up that possibility. And that's what Highland Splendor is, just a lovely way to be able to open that piece. So I'm going to bring forward the mug that I chose is pottery that comes from Cape Breton Island. There's our island, and it's a musician that creates these mugs. So I'm bringing that along. I've got the blue to go with you, Kate. So we've got our water element with us, and I chose Just Chillin'. And this is a tea that's kind of a seasonal one. It kind of rolls into my life and then rolls back out of my life. The affirmation on the package, just going to bring it up here, is chillin' with family and friends creates nuggets of memories. And what I thought in relation to our conversation is we're going to expand your awareness today of how we can support our friends with transforming tools that can change well-being, mental health, stress, pain, and more. And then these are nuggets that we can hold on to. Now, the nugget might be for you, the listener, right now, but down the road, when you're having a conversation with a friend over a cup of tea, perhaps, you might remember something from this podcast, and that nugget's going to be passed to the next person. And that's so important. So bringing that idea forward of how what we learn and know and grow with can affect other people. I want to bring forward the black tea, the cranberry, and the calendula petals, just so you have a little bit from what we have with the blue pea flower of all the components that it brings in there. Highland Splendor has wonderful earthy herbs in it, as well as the Earl Grey. And a black tea is something that really grounds us, takes us to our roots and our structure, and the stability can draw us in from this physical world and really connect us in a way that maybe we've been above it or sitting on it heavily, but not really connected. And if you go to the cranberries, these are bright red, we know, and usually come around with our Thanksgiving dinners and our Christmas dinners, but they're a way to bring about an illumination to the emotional components of our living. And a lot of times what people think of as a physical challenge is really an emotional challenge. And cranberry is going to pull that out for us today. And then if we go to the calendula petals, this is like sunshine in a teacup. This is about representing that healing light, soothing your emotional body, and then illuminating the way to go forward. Now, we're going to offer that from new perspectives, new ideas, and your openness is going to be an opportunity to provide you with some insights you haven't thought of. So I thank you both for bringing your teas to the table, and cheers to everyone. Our slange, as we say here in Cape Breton. All right. Oh, yeah. Love it. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to have a little bit of a discovery about what's more than the physical. And so I'd like to ask these lovely ladies, when did you realize there was more to life than the physical reality that we've been taught and came through school with? Kate, do you want to start that?
Okay. Well, so I was a respiratory therapist for 14 years, but I had been searching for a long time for a change. I went on a whitewater river rafting trip, and there was a massage therapist on it, but something happened. We went off over a waterfall. I went under the water, and I went in a tunnel, and I heard a voice. I did not know it was a near-death experience. I was under a long time. Went through the tunnel, and the voice kept saying to me, "You know what to do, make the change." I came back up and went right back down again and into that tunnel, into the light. And for years, I did not know what this was until one day I picked up a magazine and somebody, and it was literally similar, very similar to what I had experienced. And then I was talking about it, and that's what it was. Well, when I came home that summer of 1984, I went to 2 massage schools in San Diego that had open houses. And I ended up in IPSB in Pacific Beach. And the minute after everything was done and we could lay on a table, and I was 35, I'd never had a massage in my life. And I laid on the table, and I remember the Wally, who was the manager of the school, put his hands on me, and I'm not kidding. The minute that happened, I knew I was home. And I signed up that night and went right into school, quit respiratory therapy 3 months later. And I began. That's when I knew that I was destined to find something else. And it became so clear as I went through the classes that it was so easy for me. I had done this before. That's what was the biggest thing for me, is that I had done this before. And so many things happened in that school time, in that school year. But that's what changed my life, was that going over a waterfall did it. And the realization there was more, and I found it. And it changed my life for the next 20 years.
Wow. I'm just thinking about, that experience, and some people that would just roll them into a ball and they wouldn't be able to function, and not realizing the potential of that. The opportunity for you to be able to come out the other side of that and go, I was looking for the sign. It was a big hit on the head sign, but it was the sign. But I really did make a change, and I wanted to make a change. And there wasn't any fear that went with that change?
Not a bit. It was interesting after it all happened and they pulled me out of the water. And I remember sitting on the thing saying, I want to be in a raft where everybody knows how to paddle, because that was the issue too. We had several people that didn't know how to paddle. But I wasn't afraid. That was the biggest thing that came out of it, is I had no fear. I wasn't afraid. I got back in that raft and we paddled down, and we had a lot more rapids to go through. But I wasn't afraid to go forth and search. And when I went to both schools, I didn't like the first one, and then I went to IPSB, and I was so fortunate that the teachers that were there were so insightful and so spiritual and had it together, that just understanding touch, what touch could do for you, was a revelation for me. And it helped me throughout the time unweave my own fears and go through them and become what I became.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Denise, how about for you?
Well, I was doing life. I was around 20. I wasn't 28 yet. I know because, had a life event at 28. This was before 28, and I'm just floating along. And I was driven by pain to finally show up at a chiropractor's office. And at that time in my life, a lot of people thought chiropractic wasn't real. It was, However, I knew I had a pain in the neck, and chiropractors work with necks, right? And his assistant did this crazy thing with me, and I learned, that's muscle monitoring, where she had me stick an arm out, and this one wouldn't hold, this one would. And she was doing a number of muscles, and she was scribbling things down on a notepad and gave it to the chiropractor when it was my turn to go in. And he looked at it and he says, okay, with your history. And I had headaches. I heard from Dr. Wally Schmidt, a naturopath, that aspirin is not a supplement.
Right.
Why are we taking aspirin every day? Anyways, I was taking a pain reliever, not aspirin, but I was taking a pain reliever, several times a day. And I can't even tell you how many months that went on. Probably well over a year. But it was the pain in the neck that finally got me. And he said, the pain in your head, the pain in your neck are connected to your chronic bladder infections and constipation. Hey, I was a regular human. Isn't everybody constipated? He did one simple adjustment, and I could feel the surge of vitality run through me. He did another tiny adjustment, 2 little things. And then he rechecked all those muscle tests that his assistant had done, and every muscle came online. I felt strong like bull, no matter which muscle he checked. And all the negative self-talk in my head that I had with the assistants, come on, you can do better. You can do better. So I am so compassionate to people that I muscle test now because it's a neurological thing. It's not a strength thing. And that's when the light bulb went off and I went, this is what I want to do when I grow up. This is what I want to do. Hey, doc, so how long does it take to learn to do this? And he's going, well, it's 8 years. And then, you keep learning. And I went, what? He says, well, you've got to get, you got to do all your pre-med and then you do all this other stuff. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen. I'm in northern Alberta, close to the Yukon. And at this time, and I'm going to school and planning on starting a new family. It's not going to be in my life. And then I found out that muscle testing was available to lay people. And I dove in. And again, just like Kate, I felt like I was home. It wasn't easy. It was very clumsy after my first class. And I went and I was all excited telling a friend who really wanted to experience this. I messed up so bad, man. I actually just stopped and I went, I know there's value here. What am I not doing right? So I got help. And then shortly after, I worked with another woman who was a mess. And I thought I was doing it wrong with her. I thought, this can't be right. She's just come out from bowel resectioning. She's had fever. She's had all this stuff. I said, hey, maybe I can help you. I'm learning to be a healer. Can I please practice with you? And I really thought I was doing it all wrong. And 3 days later, she comes striding up to me as we drop our kids off at the elementary school. She comes striding up to me and nose to nose. What did you do to me? And I'm like automatically thinking, uh-oh, what happened? What did I do? What's wrong? Again, kind of a human experience. And she said, I don't know what you did. But I went home, I went to sleep. I got up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was up all day. I've been doing that since I saw you. So for 3 days now, this like, it didn't just go away. The kids come home after school to get all ready. I'm sitting on the couch in the family room, overseeing everything. And I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock at night. And I'm going, yeah, so what's the problem with that? She goes, you don't understand. I was sleeping 18 hours a day before I saw you. And when I was awake, I was good for nothing.
Right.
So I thank that chiropractor. He's passed on now, or I'd be calling him up saying, what did you do? How did you do that? But before I got to the point where I wanted to explore. So that was my opening. Sorry, I went on a little bit longer with that, but I'm so passionate about having people have that experience like I had. Like, what happened? Because after me, no more headaches. I'm pooping regular. Do you know how good it feels? Now I know why I hear Dr. Oz talks about that a lot. It's really revolutionary when your body is functioning better. All the conditions went away after that one that I had complained to him about. So then when I started visiting him more regularly, it was, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And he always did. I don't know. At that point, I didn't know what magic. It looked like magic. I know now. It's science. Yeah. So that's my introduction. The world that most people are walking around in, they're not seeing the broadness, the possibilities. That a lot of them are stuck.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that's the same kind of experience for me too. And it's that you just resign yourself to the fact that whatever place you're at, that's where you're going to be. That's where you're going to kind of stay, because you just get older then. That's what happens. And then to discover that that's not at all the case, that's not even the reality, and that you don't also have to go to school for 8-10 years to be able to do this kind of thing. In a short weekend course, you can have enough tools to get started and make a significant difference for your family and friends. And then if that's something you really enjoy, you can dive deeper. So it's not a lot. So I know you didn't say a touch for health when you were describing what you took. But for those people listening, I'm sure they'll be thinking, what is it? So Touch for Health is how the chiropractors wanted to get all of the tools into the layman's hands and make it possible. And it's Dr. John Thie that wrote out the beautiful textbook that we use and also created the idea of gathering with family and friends to help each other feel better. And so, yeah, which is the same way that I also got started. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about our experiences. Denise, you went and, like we all want to do, we learned the technique and then we're like, I got to show somebody because this is so exciting. So let's move over to some of those first instant change experiences that we've had where we've only maybe rubbed a point on the body or traced a line or something and changes happened. Kate, do you want to share your experience with those tools as you learned them?
I have so many stories. I don't even know where to begin. This morning I was reading through some things and I have so many great ones. Um, like Denise, I found Touch for Health. I was in San Diego. I'm going to regress just for a second. And my chiropractor in San Diego had been doing muscle testing on me. This was while I'm in school and stuff. And then at that time, Touch for Health was doing their conferences in San Diego. So I went to my very first and just went, wow, because I'd been experiencing muscle testing. And so I took my first Touch for Health one. Literally, that did it for me. And I took off like crazy and said, okay, so I know how to muscle test. Let's think outside the box. How am I going to help these athletes that I was working on? And I told them as they laid on my table, I've learned something new and I'm going to help you win a race and I'm going to help you recover faster. And this is before I wrote Sports Touch. And so I started doing all this stuff on them and they go, wow. And I believe in demonstrating. So I would muscle test and they could see that the muscle couldn't conduct. So it would go in the sense, quote, as we say, weak. And then I would rub a point, a neural lymphatic reflex point, and it would tighten up. And they go, wow. And then I would say, you can do this in a race. So I designed a ritual and they were all getting ready to do Ironman. So in Hawaii. And so I designed an athletic ritual at a Sports Touch. And it was very specific things that they had to do. But they would rub neural lymphatic reflex points specifically for their quadriceps, which helped with digestion. They would do the psoas, which was for water and kidneys. And then they would do the diaphragm to help with breathing and to prevent a stitch in their side. And so I showed them how they would balance between each one of the three stages. And I flew to Ironman in 1989 with them. So I met these 5 people there and I got them all to do this. And I was in the massage area at midnight waiting for them. And I prayed they were doing it because I was like, please do it. And they did. And when they came and got on my table, it was like just doing a regular client. Nothing hurt. Their muscles were soft and supple. They were tired, but they were renewed. They were already recovered. The massage was just icing. And they all went dancing. So, I mean, while you looked around and you looked at all the rest of the athletes literally crawling and in so much pain and getting IVs from the med tent, and my 5 were elated and jumping for joy. And then the next morning, they were out riding bikes and running. It just was unbelievable. And so it proved my point that the techniques that I learned in Touch for Health, when you think outside the box, how you can utilize them within whatever you want to do, like we were doing Ironman, how you could make a difference, how you could help their stamina and their recovery and injury free. That was the issue. How do we do this? It worked. So I thank John Thie so much for sharing and making it for the public, but taking that every therapist, everybody needs to step outside that box and utilize their techniques in any capacity, no matter what it is. It doesn't have to be the Iron Man. It could be anything. I did it for carpal tunnel. I did it for all of them, for those things. But that was probably the biggest one for me to see that it actually worked. That was amazing to me. And it started it.
And we really grew up with the idea that you just go along until a problem arises. And then maybe you'll ignore the problem because, it's because I expended more energy than I had. And then you just carry on until it becomes a chronic problem, and then you have to face it, rather than helping yourself all along the way to keep that energy in flow and keep it balanced, so you aren't stressing the system out by pushing it beyond its limits. It's such a different way of thinking than how we approach most of our day, really, which is to go at it and then collapse in bed at the end of the day. And it's really a great way to pace it.
One of the other things just is that after I didn't see them anymore, I heard from them. They were teaching it. That's what was so great, is they were taking the ritual, they were showing their counterparts, their other athletes, their friends, how to rub points. This is going to help you, One more really quickie. I was in Hawaii at that time, and an athlete that I was teaching a class, and these two athletes, biathletes, were doing a race. In the 90s, they came out with the water packs that you could put on the bike and you sip water the whole time. Well, both of them hooked them up wrong. They didn't have water for the whole race. Now, one couldn't make it, but Mike rubbed points. He felt that if he rubbed his points for the neural lymph, exactly what I'd showed him, that it would keep his body humming. He won the race without water and came and showed me. And it was because he rubbed the neural lymphatic reflexes for on the bike and run. I was astonished because I never thought of that. It was an eye opener and an unbelievable. And he brought the trophy to me and he said, "Thank you. But I won because I didn't have water, but your points saved me." That did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Denise. Can you follow that?
Like, so many stories. One of my very early ones was very, very special. A man found me by calling the phone operator back when we had directory assistance, before the internet. And he lives not very far away from me. And he went, "Great, someone local who does the stuff." I had no idea that I was listed for that in the phone directory. How she found me, it like, really? I haven't paid for any listing or anything. And he found me. And this is how a lot of people find people like us, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just guided. And his child was about 9 years old. And he was not doing well in school. And I didn't know that then. What he came for was to improve his soccer performance. So I went, "Great, let's do some muscle tune-ups, head to foot." Very, very basic, very like level 1 stuff that I learned in what you call that one weekend appointment. It's basically what I did with him. And I went around the edge of the table and had him sit up and sit for a minute. And, then I invited him to step down. And he had the oddest look on his face. And I never seen that look before, ever. And I'll never forget it. And I went, "What are you noticing?" And he was full of wonder. It's the only way I can describe it. And he looks down, he looks up, he says, "It feels like the first time my feet have ever touched the ground.
Wow.
And this is from a 9-year-old. I don't know very many adults who could articulate that. And so his father booked another appointment. About 3 weeks later, comes in and he said, I don't know what you did, but my son went from a 0 to a hero on the soccer team. Kids all beaming, right?
Yeah.
And he says, I don't know what you did, but all his marks, he used to be like C's. He's all up in the A's now. Is what you did do that? And I went, have you done any other interventions, any other things that you've tried? And he said, no. And I said, maybe, because I can't prove or disprove. So that was a remarkable case with that one session that taught me so much. Every single client that comes to see me, I learn something. And it's, you can do something and have no awareness of how it generalizes and releases other stresses in people's lives.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a key piece for people listening is we may have a focus on one thing that we're coming for, like the soccer, but we don't realize all the other aspects in our life where we may be held back, blocked, be using patterns that aren't very helpful, make it more effortful, and that just disappears. And how can you articulate that? And that also makes it difficult for science because it's not, you can replicate things, which is what science is looking for the rigor of. But we are so individual with our experiences and where the challenges are and what we're doing that we never know for sure where those changes are going to happen and what they're going to look like. But they do produce changes and transformation. And that's the part that's magical and open for us, that possibility. Thank you both for bringing those pieces forward. So I'd like to focus on your experience of, now, Denise, you kind of started with this, with talking about the dad and what he noticed. So that when somebody has transformed after a session, there's two ways they can go. They can go to, I don't believe it, right? And then they bring things back because their body immediately closes up again, or they open. Can you share a little bit about some of the experience of what it's like to work with clients who have that transformation and then maybe choose to learn more or start to do more things at home? You got some stories that you could bring around that. Denise, do you want to carry from where you started?
I've got 2 or 3 bits that are separate but related. So I was doing some of the more advanced work that I do is working with neurological reconnection of things in the brain from this department to that department so that you can function in life better. And I was working on this father. His wife said, you need help. Go see Denise. So sometimes people show up because they're kind of forced. Sometimes. And I'm working on him. And he comes back in. So he has 3 appointments over 3 months. And I'm asking, so what are you noticing different in your life? And he's going, nothing. So he says, well, I keep coming because my family keeps saying, Dad, are you not seeing the changes? Like, he says, something must be happening. Because my daughter, who wants nothing to do with taking care of her younger brother, is going, oh, there's a conflict in the schedule. Let me pick up little Johnny after school and take care of him until you get home. Go, Dad. You must go. And so she's in high school. So she's sacrificing something she would normally do to go take care of her little brother because the whole family were recognizing the difference in that person. And there's one of my instructors had said she had done a clearing on somebody, and the woman basically went to work. She went home. She went to work. She went home. And once in a while, she'd go to the grocery store, work, home, grocery, home, work, that was her world. And this woman telling me the story said, oh, I ran into her one day and said, so how do you make out after your session? And she says, oh, it was okay, I guess. But there's nothing changed. She says, oh, well, tell me, what's been going on for you? And she goes, oh, well, she says, it was quite interesting. She says, I booked a flight and went on a 2-week holiday and went with a friend, blah, 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 blah. And she says, yeah, like last week, I had a dinner party for 12 people. And she's going on with these, and she says, have you ever done any of those things before? And she's going, no, I haven't. But it feels natural to do those things now. And this is where, when I work with some clients, I'm aware that they might not be really great at noticing. So now when I work with them, I set them up to notice the changes when you go home in this week with this or that. Just keep an eye open for that. Because otherwise, well, for me, I noticed I'm sleeping. I've got no more headaches. I'm pooping regular. Those were measurable and noticeable and made a huge difference in my life. Sometimes it's more subtle. So I ask people to watch out for it. And I think that's the message I want to get out with answering your question. Did I do okay with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. That's the piece for, I just want people to get a sense for what it's like when that transformation happens, because when you move to ease, you completely forget what it was like. It's no longer even a part of your life. And it's those around you who notice. It's the patterns that change. And oftentimes we just think that's normal, which is incredible. So,
well, one more bit. So long before the pandemic happened, there was a woman from Saskatchewan who's miles away from me, and she had a telephone session with me. And it's, okay, let's see how this works remotely, because I believe we're all energy being, we're connected. I've had other training in energy work, and I go, it's worth a try. So I took a very detailed history with her, and she came for a second appointment. So what are your changes? And she goes, nothing's changed. Nothing. Like, I still feel awful. Oh, really? So I'm looking at her report, and I'm going, there were a couple of things, but the one thing that was really funny, how's the relationship with your mother-in-law now? And she goes, we haven't had a single argument in weeks. Oh, but so again, I had a laundry list of things I had noted were imbalances or challenges she was having. And I went through every single one of them. And she said, every single one of them has changed. And that's where I really learned with that woman. Thank you so much. That people are going through life unaware. And when you are now able to respond naturally, you completely forget the past limitations. And she was the very first one who I really noticed that with.
beautiful.
And then there are other people seeking, I need relief from pain. I need relief from this. I need this or that. And they get it and they go, great. But they're unaware of all those other things that are happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry for taking up airwaves, but it's fascinating to me. And I know you've both seen it, where Kate, you've had people going, wow, I won the race, didn't expect that without water, or, whatever their story is. But there's also those people that are just going, I'm doing it because I want to do something to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the difference is, but I'm going to do it because I want to take care of myself.
Kate, would you like to dive in there?
Oh, I'm sitting here thinking of stories as Denise talks. Hmm. My whole goal when I started this, in the books that I wrote and the things that I taught and was to make a difference. How could I make a difference and teach others how to help others make a difference in their reduction of pain, soreness in muscles, win a race. I mean, to anything that they wanted to accomplish, how could I make a difference and how could they help others? And so I have a couple stories. So this is funny. So I lived in San Diego underneath literally the Mormon Tabernacle monument that they had just built this church. And I had 5 Mormon wives as clients. It's very interesting. Every single one of them had back pain. And so one of them was the wife of one of my other clients. And so he got his wife to come, and then she brought everybody else. And so I started doing my pain-free back book on them and all the stuff and the stuff in Sports Touch and they got better. But the greatest thing is I started teaching all the women in the church how not to have back pain. And Lori, who was there all the time, she was my biggest cheerleader, would buy a book every time she came. And she'd put them out on her coffee tables. They all disappeared. Every time somebody came over, the book disappeared. And I had to laugh because she had 10 of them disappear. So she just kept buying books and she kept teaching. And I thought it was so funny. And but she was great. And then one of the other wives that was she had problems with her back also. And she said, "Well, we're all going water skiing this weekend." And I said, "Not you, don't you dare." And so they go water skiing. Her son hurt his back water skiing, went right into doing the technique, how to release the trigger points, how to do everything, how to rub the points, comes back that week and says, "I did it. I was the instructor. I helped my son. He could water ski the whole weekend because you showed me." Ooh, she did it. And there's the difference right there. When you get somebody else to take the reins and take control and take the responsibility, they can do it. Another story. I was asked by an ergonomist friend of mine to come to Kansas City for the Armor Swift meatpacking plant. They had a lot of repetitive strain injuries, overreach injuries, and so I went for a whole week. And so I had 5 ladies plus the manager of the plant as part of my their experiment, I guess, to see if it would work. And every time, and each one of them got an hour worked on, and they got better. What was interesting about it is that the men in the company thought massage was something else and would taunt me and would make fun of it. Well, a lot of the women are married to guys that work in the plant. So they're going home and they're doing all this stuff to them. And I go into the locker room one day and they're teaching. They're teaching them all the stuff that I'm doing to them. So the whole plant was getting worked on and I didn't know it until that one day. And then because the men were getting better, that attitude. So here's the attitude change. So we went from, ooh, what massage could be, to, "Can you help me? My back hurts." And they all came to I was at lunch and they all came to my door and they said, "We want to come in and have you work on us now." So not only did I have the women, now I got the men and the wives are helping them, but the whole group, the whole company was being worked on, not by me, but by them. So that was the biggest thing. And then one little thing was one of the girls in the plant hurt her muscles and it turned out to be the lats, but she had gone to the nurse because that's where they send them. They send you to the nurse. And the nurse says, "Well, you need to make an appointment with the doctor and then he'll give you a shot for the pain." "Oh, we're going to go see Kate. Forget that idea." So here they all come. There's 5 of them and they come to the door and she says, "I hurt this." So it's the latissimus dorsi. And I muscle tested, rubbed some points, checked some other stuff. She raised her arm. The pain was gone immediately. Pain was gone. So I gave them a copy of the neurolymphatic reflex chart. They went and made copies for the whole plant and started teaching them how to rub points so that they would recover, not have pain. You can do this during work, on your break, and at home. It was the biggest thing. And later on, after I left, I still heard from them. And they would tell me that they were still doing it, that it made such a difference in their day-to-day lives also outside the plant, that they recovered and were able to now do things that they couldn't do before. Could keep their jobs too. That was another thing. And so it was an immediate shift in attitude and about holistic health and massage therapy and things like that, which in the 80s was different because I personally, when I graduated, had to go through Vice to get my license. And I was working in a hospital at that time too. And I still had a license of touch. So it was very interesting. We, as part of my class, helped change laws in the city of San Diego because of that. So the early 80s was like that, mid 80s. Then we later formed a team, a sports massage team. We get training. Oh, my class was amazing because they were go-getters. They wanted to make a difference. I was just one of many that did this, but I found Touch for Health, and Touch for Health made the difference in every single client I had. I can't even tell you every single story that I have for this. One more. I wrote the carpal tunnel book. It was a different title at that time. And I got a letter from an 84-year-old lady in New York who liked to make cookies and cupcakes and pastries. And she used the squeezer all the time to put icing on them. Couldn't do it anymore. But she found my book and she started doing the techniques that I had in the book. And she thanked me so much for that because then she could do what she loved to do and make this for people. A week later, I received a box of cupcakes, fully decorated, with this biggest thank you card I've ever received from Edna. And I called the phone number, to thank her for the cupcakes and to know that she was doing what she loved to do at that age. And her grandson answered the phone and he said, "Oh, Grandma's out delivering cookies that she made. And oh, you're the lady that helped her have her hands okay again." And I said, "Yes." And she called me back and we had a lovely chat. But that's making a difference. That's knowing that destiny, not only did I write Sports Touch, but I wrote my book on repetitive strain injuries, which is a musculoskeletal problem. It is not a surgical one. And that lady was able at 84 years old to resume what she loved the most. And it true joy to give somebody that back in their life is what that book did for me and for theirs. So one note, people who's listening to this, it is a musculoskeletal problem. It is not a surgical one, and it is fixable. It is fixable.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just thinking about, the new model of healthcare, which is build that team and the person's in the middle and they've got this team to help them. But this approach is the person is empowered. The person has the ability to go and replicate and share with others and create the space for change. They can still come back for tweaks or challenges they can't work with, but they have these tools that they come away with that transform their day and transform everybody around them. And just to, as people are listening and thinking about, well, I'm not really interested. That's what my husband would say. Would you please just fix me, but don't ask me to chant. Don't ask me, to talk about it. And I don't actually want to be participating in the room with you. Can you just fix it from a distance? Make it instant for me, will you? That's usually what he'll say. And that opportunity to say, I can do that. What do you need? Let's do this and let's change things. And so thinking about that healthcare model, surrounded by people who have knowledge, but this case is knowing that you're empowered and knowing that when you're empowered, you are not just affecting yourself, you're affecting everyone else. And that's a key piece for this kind of work.
One last thing.
Yeah.
When I was doing all this stuff with everything, I coined a phrase, health at your fingertips. And I use that along with everything that I ever did. So to empower someone Anybody and everybody has a set of hands. Everybody has hands. And those hands can walk right through everything and rub a point and hold a point and massage themselves and do things because they have them, but you got to keep them healthy. So when you understand that you can do this and there is a way out there, a lot of people find me just by accident, just like with Denise. It's an accident that somebody finds you, but it's meant to be. So never quit looking. That's also the other message you want to say. Don't quit looking. Don't give up because there is always an answer.
So this would be a good place for us to say, how do they find you, Kate? So somebody wanted to come and visit with you. How did they find you?
Well, unfortunately don't have a website anymore. LinkedIn is still there. Facebook's there under Kate Montgomery. Amazon has both books, Anterior Carpal Tunnel Pain Without Surgery and Sports Touch. Both books are on Amazon. I am currently in Indiana. Gosh, I don't even know. I can give a phone number and an email address. Those are the way you find me.
So if they go to social media, they can look you up. They've got the access to your books, and that can get them started.
Yes, that can get them started. I'm one of the things that when I retired, and I still see people when they find me and if it's right. But when I stopped, my goal was self-care. You can take control. You can do this. So whoever got a book, if you need help, yes, call the email, write the email address. I'll help you. But you can do it. Don't be lazy. Body maintenance 101. That's it. You can do your own body maintenance. And that's what those books are about. It wasn't about seeing me. It was about you doing the work. So every book is simple and easy to do. There's pictures and graphics. So easy to do. I haven't seen half the people that are in that book for who said that it worked. That's an endorsement. People just do it. And then I hear from them saying, music teachers, and I have musicians and people who, well, I saw in NAM, oh, sorry, Denise, quick story. When I was in NAM in LA, I was walking around all the musicians, different instruments, and people were playing. And I had a young pianist sitting there playing. And I said to him, may I test your hands? So I test his hands, and he had no grip strength at all. He couldn't even feel his finger pads. And one of the things he said was that I'm at a loss, that I can't, what comes from my heart doesn't make it to my head and out my fingers. And I said, really? Okay. So we went through my 4 or 5 steps of self-assessment, fingertips, grip strength, everything, muscle testing. And then I helped him do the steps. And you could hear him just pop, 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 all the way down his arm. And all of a sudden you could see the redness in his arm, the blood flow just start. And he felt his finger pads. And he says, I feel them. I said, woo! And I said, now play on the keyboards. Who feels better? Grip strength was better, sense of touch was better. But he put his fingers on the keyboard and he said, this arm feels alive, this feels dead. So he did the other arm, and it was like instantaneous. He could feel the keys, but he also didn't have to pound as hard to make the noise, make the music. And so his last thing he said to me was, I can now, what's in my heart goes to my head and I hear the music. I feel the music. I'm going to cry. And it came out his hands and he played the most beautiful concerto on the piano. It was just unbelievable. And he looked at me and he was smiling and he was crying at the same time. He was a very young pianist. He was in his early 20s. but he hadn't been able to feel anything for such a long time. And in that few quick moments, it came back. And we talked. I talked to him later. He got a book. He was doing his thing. And where he is today, I don't know, but I hope he's feeling wonderful. But he got the message. That's making a difference. That makes it.
Denise, you have clients that you see, and you have Muscle Tuners International where you're training people, and you focused in on massage therapists, physiotherapy to help them to be able to do these techniques as well. Do you want to share the gamut of people that you reach with your work?
Well, I certainly attracted some of the colleagues that we have, including some of the instructors of Touch for Health, who wanted to just relearn some of the material. We have a copyright use to use some of the Touch for Health material as foundational, plus additional proprietary techniques that have derived from experience in the clinic. And so we have a number of people who do muscle monitoring already who have found they've refined their knowledge. They finally understand certain concepts, because I understand the structure of, if a system is being taught worldwide, there needs to be a standard of what gets taught in level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And everybody's doing their best to teach it to their best of their ability, and amazing stories, results. Even doing it perfectly, it still works. So I've attracted some colleagues who already do muscle monitoring. I've attracted people like physiotherapists, shiatsu practitioners, people who are meridian-based reflexologists. And I have attracted the massage therapists who are going, who knew? I thought I learned about muscle testing in school, but this is different. I'm going, well, yeah. There's muscle testing to identify where there's an imbalance. And then there's muscle testing to ask the body, what trigger do we need to activate to restore that muscle back to function? And people, a lot of people have missed the boat on that. So it's fantastic for massage therapists, physiotherapists who are going, we've been missing a lot in our assessments, because the Oxford scale of muscle testing is different than the bioenergetic approach. And they're going, wow, we have been missing a lot of issues, including muscles that test okay, but they're over-energized, and they're actually going, and they're the bullies that are causing all kinds of trouble everywhere. So those are the types. And the fitness trainers are going, cannot believe how fast and easy it is. If somebody's objective is to do more chin-ups or pull-ups or whatever crazy things they do in the gyms, and I've done this myself, it says, what do you want? Oh, abs? You want to work hamstrings? You want to work, pull-ups? Let me show you a couple of muscles to tune up. These are the, so after they demonstrate and they're all like, oh, there's the blonde chick and I'm going to, do my thing. and, it is not easy to do pull-ups, and they'll max out at, say, 7. And I'll just test a few muscles, activate a few points, take 2 minutes, maybe 3, and say, okay, go in and show me what you can do. And they're going, but I just finished, like that was like pulled everything out of the tank that I could. And they get up and they surpass what they did before easily. Doesn't matter what the activity is. They're able to put on more weight or do more repetitions like that. So those are the types of people I was focused on working to attract people who work with others professionally. So fitness trainers, obvious fit. Massage therapists, obvious fit. All that, all the therapists. And there is definitely a gap in all the network events that I go to, that people need to do the things for themselves, because I get clients all the time, been everywhere, done everything, man, don't know. And somebody told me 5 years ago I should come see you, and I'm finally here because I'm done. What am I going to do now? And in a single session, they're restored. And they go, I can't believe I waited so long. So there are some real good self-care approaches. I am teaching a self-care approach. And I borrowed a page out of Kate's book when we met last week. And I am basically calling it a body maintenance workshop, where people go, okay, so it's like a house. Sometimes you got to freshen up the paint. Sometimes you got to power wash the sidewalk. Sometimes you just need to vacuum the carpet. For maintenance of your home, apply that to the body, and making it as simple and guided and customized for the people that show up for self-care, who are just regular everyday people like I was originally when I walked in off the street with pain and I had my experience. That's really the people I want to reach, because making a difference, it's important. And I want to bring it back to the very first woman I told you about at the top of this meeting on this recording. That woman who was sleeping 18 hours a day, I wanted to support her because of her position in the community. And when she wasn't getting out of bed, there were so many people missing her and her effect. Not just her family, but all the networks that she was hooked into. And so it's about making ripples. And I've been at conferences where I have gone back to an instructor that has traveled to Canada to train me. And he looked me in the eyes and I was just a puddle. And I, going up to shake the hand of the panel of all these original people on the stage, including Dr. John Thie, and saying, thank you for stepping out back in the 80s when this was very woo-woo and people were saying this is magical and it's not scientific. And, I've trained, and on that same stage, one fellow who came back from being a quadriplegic to paraplegic to walking without any assistance on that stage, who has 4 degrees, who found the connections and wrote a book. And I want to shout out Dr. Charles T. Krebs, my mentor. And he wrote a book called A Revolutionary Way of Thinking. And one for people who really want to, who already know a little bit of muscle testing, lots of scientific background in energy kinesiology. I can't remember the subtitle of it, but in other parts of the world, they call muscle testing kinesiology, one form of kinesiology. And yeah, it's scientific, it's reproducible. I could teach somebody basically to monkey the approach somewhere else in the world, and they get back to me and they go, it works. I just monkey copied what you did and it works. The thing with the ears, I have people who release neck tension with they go, that thing with the ears. So I have all these stories like you, Kate, where people catch on to one thing and they go, let me show somebody else. It works. So there's somebody I'm meeting with right now, and he's saying, when you teach a little 1-minute technique like that, just ask the person to share it with somebody and say, did it work? And when they say it does, just say, Denise says, you're welcome. Just let's pass the gratitude and the acknowledgement in the world for people making a decision to do something to improve their day-to-day lives and to share it with others.
So Denise, you dove right into where I was going to lead us next, which is I would love for people leaving this conversation and waiting for what we're going to dive into next. Let's share a really simple technique. So you talked about the ears, and that's one of my ultimate favorites. What? Do you want to share that with the audience so they have something to use and experiment with?
I've got an energy tickle on my nose. When the energy starts flowing for me, I get an energy tickle. So I'm taking off my glasses to make it very clear for you what I'm doing. And I'm going to invite you, just whoever's listening or watching, to notice if they're feeling any tension in their body, how they're even just sitting, what's your posture like. And most people have got tension in the back of their necks and upper shoulders. So there's a wonderful collision of activating acupressure points combined with postural reflexes in the neck that monitor Where are you in space? What's the tension like? All that kind of stuff. So I invite you to take a breath and turn your head. Doesn't matter which way you go. Notice how far you can turn to one side and notice where your eyes land, and then come back to center. Turn the other way and notice if it feels different on that side. And for most people, it's not equal. And most people will feel a little pull or tension somewhere, and they're going, oh, I never noticed that. Okay. So what we're going to do next is activate these acupressure points. There are hundreds of acupressure points all through the ear. We're going to work at unfurling the curved over part of the ear and go all the way down to our earlobe. And let me turn my head to show you what I'm going to do. So just watch for a second. We're going to unfurl and we're going to pull. And we're going to do that about 5 times, going all the way down. But there's a trick. If you do this just like this, it helps you hear and remember what you've heard. So this is, I call it a twofer. If you do it like this really helps you absorb auditory information. But if you turn your head to the side and activate the ear on the back side of your body while you're looking in that direction, so you can't see me doing this now, but I want to model it correctly. Turn your head, say, to the right, and you're going to activate your right ear. So unfurling and pulling, go all the way around. Pull as much of the ear as you can, activate, rub, and roll. And you're going to start noticing that your ear's getting warm. So that's probably about 3 times. Let's do a couple more. And notice if you can turn your head even a little bit more to the right. You might find a couple of degrees extra range. Take breath and return to center.
Yes.
My ear's pink. Everybody, your ear is pink. Let's turn and look the other way. So I'm looking left right now, and I'm pulling and tugging on my ear, on my left ear. And I'm making sure to activate as much of the geography as I can reach with my thumb and my fingers on the back of my ear. And I'm pulling and tugging and pulling and tugging. And see if you can turn your head a couple more degrees to the left if possible, without hurting yourself, of course.
Yeah.
Remember to breathe. Okay, now let go of your hand, turn back. So I'm going to invite you to get back to sitting the way you were a minute ago and turn your head to the right. Turn your head to the left. And even though we've only done that for about a minute, what are you noticing?
Can I interject real quick? I noticed my facial features changed. So I've been drooping and now they're come up a bit. So it affects the muscles of your face. So
it generalizes to so many parts of the body because the neck's connected to the spine, is connected to the sacrum, all those things. The old song, the toe bone's connected to. Michelle, did you notice anything? I don't know the last time you've done this activity.
I do it a lot. And every time I use it, I'm just always marveled. And it's one of my go-tos. But my posture easily is sitting up. So before I was sitting up, but it had a little bit of effort with it. But now it doesn't have any effort. And then the range of motion is I can actually see right behind me easily to the fireplace behind. So, yeah, beautiful.
People are often stunned. They go, oh, it's easy. And I'm going a little, and what I'm looking for is to make it more equal. Whatever your range of motion is, it's lovely for your neurology. If it is more equal, that's massive, significant neurological change in information that is helping the whole rest of your body respond. I could go into teaching mode here, but when your eyes and head turn this way, your body prepares for certain things like possibly falling or whatever. So certain muscles have to tighten up and other muscles have to relax. So it's a profound, simple technique. and go and hear better. Maybe we should have started this podcast with that activity. And go teach it. Please teach this to people. I had one woman come for a $350 workshop, and this is one of the first things we do. That was Touch for Health. I was teaching that time, and she says this was worth the price of admission.
Mhm.
I cannot tell you how much more relaxed all these muscles are, worth the price of admission right there. And we just spent this is the first hour of class already. Let's go.
Mhm. Mhm. And I use that technique, taking note of what time it is. And this helps with what we assume is jet lag. But if we know that it's not really jet lag, it's a system that needs to be rebooted, we just reboot the system, and it can be very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Kate, what would you like to add to the table here before we part?
Well, it's funny, Denise, that you bring up the ears, because I start all my classes like that with that technique, because I want them, not only that, I want them to hear what I'm going to say. So it helps with hearing. One of the other things that I do, which is with the ears too, is the eyes. So a simple thing that, people have eyesight issues. So are you centered? Are your eyes centered, or is one up, one down? Well, that has to do with the eye muscles. So if you follow the clock, so you take your eyes up and hold them for a count of 5, and an eyes down, right, left, diagonals, and then come forward and do this eyes closed and eyes open. You will change the strengthening of the eye muscles and recenter your eyes, which also helps with vision. So it's a vision technique, and it's very, very powerful. It's something that I do all the time, and simple. Doesn't take much time to do it. So one of the things you can do is just look up for a count of 5. That strengthens the muscles going up. Look down for a count of 5. Go to the right, and just see how far you can stretch your eyes as you pull them that way. And then go to the left and see if there's a difference when you're looking one way. And then go up to the left and diagonal, and go down to the right diagonal, go up to the right diagonal up, and then down to the diagonal on the left, and then come back. And that's a very powerful one for people with vision issues, because eye muscles, like any muscle in the body, needs strengthening. And when you can do an isometric or stretching of muscles and to help recenter those eyes, then guess what? Your eyesight gets better. I've seen it. And you muscle test it, and you can go through and muscle test things like that and demonstrate that that works. But that's a very powerful one to use, and
Wonderful.
easy.
Thank
That
you both.
definitely supports the TMJ as well. So many people have TMJ issues.
Yes.
So if you have TMJ issues, work with the eyes. The note's not here, but they are very much connected.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think our audience will realize how much information can be passed to them just based on the richness of this conversation, and that is instantaneous for them to take into their lives and add. And it doesn't take any extra effort. It just means they have that first aid tool sitting right there for every day, but also for those times when other people need it and they have an answer. So for those people listening, I want to bring you back to the idea of the Just Chillin' Tea and what you've learned about how you can care for yourself easily and how you can make a difference in the lives of the people that surround you. And I just want you to remember to ground and pause, add one of these tools, see what it means for you. And until we meet with the next episode, take a note of the changes that happen because you just chose these 2 exercises. You didn't choose them to fix a chronic pain or change a stiffness or something like that, but you just wanted to see what would happen. Notice the differences. And as Denise articulated, kind of that checklist of things that you can look for, that's a great opportunity for you to realize the stress that's sitting there without a chronic issue, and you can change it now before it does become an issue. And then we've got more. Thank you both so much for sharing your stories and the energy and vitality that comes with knowing these tools and the spark that all of us get we just want to help people to be better. Thank you both so much.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for having me.
As we go to our daily activities, think about where you can put a ritual in with tea, how you can bring some of these tools in. And then next time, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the science and the empowerment. So you've learned about being self-empowered and the language that we use with that, which takes it out of a clinician style atmosphere, which is of the medical model, and putting it into a facilitator. How can we help you be stronger and to be able to do these tools yourself? So until then, stay grounded. Make sure you take another sip, and I'll say cheers and thank you so much for enriching my life today. What a great conversation. All right. Be well, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Be Well with Dr. Michelle Greenwell. There are a couple of resources I want to just point out. When you go to the website greenwellcenter.com, you'll have a pop-up window. That pop-up gives you the top 8 easy stress releasers that you can use every day. That's something you can put beside your computer, the bathroom mirror, beside the bedside table. A great resource. Also, my YouTube channel. It is full of playlists with all kinds of different ways that you can activate energy and bring vitality into your day. You can find that when you go to YouTube at Michelle Greenwell. And last, if you're a Linktree person, Linktree, linktr.ee/Greenwell Center. That has all my resources in one spot. Those are for intricate little things that you can't get everywhere. And it's a wonderful way for me to be able to share all the different aspects of the kind of work I do. So thank you for listening. Be sure to drink that tea. And if you want to have the tea blend that was shared in the podcast today, then be sure to check out capebretontea.ca. Have a wonderful day.